Hey guys, welcome to lesson 4. We're going to be using one of the strategies or techniques that I talked about in lesson 2 on it's one of the ways to get unstuck and or deal with frustrations on your drawing abilities. You do not have to draw great to be an art journaler. I have been painting for years, but I would say that my drawing abilities are just so-so. They're not super. It's sometimes I get frustrated with proportions, especially when it comes to hands or weird angles of subject matter. So this lesson is perfect for that, so that you don't have to worry about it and you can just enjoy the process instead of struggling. And actually, this will help with learning how to draw better or deal with proportions, all that kind of stuff. So what I'm doing now is just gessoing the page. I gessoed it in white, not because it's my favorite. You guys know I love black gesso. Um, but so that you would see where it's where I've used the carbon paper, it'll just show up better on the screen. So if you're going to use carbon, I think it might show up. If you do black, it might just be like slightly shinier than the other black, but definitely easier on white or like a lighter color. So I am just sewing, just prepping the pages, and I have everything ready, and all that. So yeah, you do not, I'm sorry, I sped it up so that you wouldn't have to wait for a long time. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab an image that you really like or want to include in your art journal. I grabbed a couple and kind of last minute grabbed the a picture of an owl to do. I had a weird dream this morning that about a client of mine who died, and I can't get it out of my head. It was very vivid, and I felt like she was trying to tell me something. And so that is kind of the dream hangover that I am going into this art journal with. So you want to put your carbon paper, and by the way, you can get this at any office supply store. They usually have one thing of it, so you need to ask the people because it's kind of off to the side with other antiquated items like calculators. So you want the carbon paper to be off with the dark part facing down, and then you grab a pencil that is slightly sharp, can help. Not so sharp that you're going to bust through all the pages. I'm actually using carbon paper that I've used before. You can use it a few times. And I put my owl image over it, and I'm just going to trace around the outside of the owl with a few details here and there. This is really, I mean, while you could get very in-depth with it, I didn't feel the need to do that. I really just wanted to get the proportions and show you how easy it is to get something realistic in its proportions, without having to be super labored. I'm not really worried about it. I'm just right, you know, drawing on top of it. So whatever I draw is going to be, there's going to be a line underneath it, of, you know, exactly where I'm drawing. Carbon paper's awesome. I'm sure it's made out of something horrible. I'm not even going to ask, but it doesn't really smell, and it gives me good memories of being a kid. My mom was a teacher, and I have lots of memories of hanging out in the teacher's lounge with carbon copy paper. And yeah, so anyway, so I'm drawing this. Just make sure that when you do this that your gesso is totally dry, that probably wouldn't be good if you added, you know, did it with the gesso still wet. It might not be as crisp. So I'm just kind of, I'm really not being even super precise with where I'm drawing. I'm just kind of grabbing the major things that I see. Pretty easy. And again, it should be fun. There's going to your art journal should be a fun, relaxing process. And though some emotions might come up as you kind of let go and, you know, let some things kind of come to the surface for you emotionally, it shouldn't all be tortured. I don't like that. And that's a kind of a high expectation to go into your art journaling with anyway. So can you see where it is? It's really coming up nicely. So I'm just moving it over a little bit so I can get the rest of the wing. If I could draw this without the carbon paper, and it would be fine because your art journal doesn't have to be super precise. But this is just another tool to help you when you feel like you've got a limitation. It's really just another way of not thinking as much and just playing and having fun, because it really should be fun. Okay, so I have my owl image that's from an old National Geographic. I'm kind of obsessed with owls, I think, because I'm a child of the 70s. I was surrounded by owls my whole childhood. I really love them. I have some cut up words on the side that are, I think, will blow away in a little bit when I use the heat gun, but I like to kind of have everything ready to go. I was kind of thinking of word poetry because it's more, it is not like, I didn't want to describe exactly what I was going through with this dream with my deceased friend and client. I just wanted to have something a little bit more abstract, and poetry is really, really good for that. So all you're doing with that is kind of grabbing random words that start to take on their own meaning, little poem, but not really just like kind of a phrase. So it's so fun to do. And again, for me, very relaxing. So I'm gonna go, I'm gonna just paint around the owl. The dream that I had was I woke up feeling kind of hollow. And so I want the owl to keep kind of a hollow feeling. I don't want it to look super perfect or precise or realistic. I want to keep the drawn in quality of it. And I really like that. So I'm just playing with the paint, pushing it around, kind of outlining, filling in all the negative space around the owl. If you're getting a little frustrated with your paintbrush, just feel free to, you know, switch to a different one. This paintbrush that I'm painting with right now, I've had for over 25 years from when I was in art school in college. If you take care of your brushes, they'll last a long time, especially if they're high quality brushes. I don't often spend tons of money on brushes. A lot of the ones that I use now are just cheap craft brushes because I tend to forget that they are hanging out in water, and then a day later they've been just soaking, and it'll really put undue stress on your brushes. So I tend to use cheaper brushes, but I do have a few that I really rely on that are very high quality, and they really do last. Even I know that I've left this one that I'm using right now in water for long periods of time, and it's you know, it's definitely worn, but it's still in really good quality, really good condition. So again, I'm loose with this. It's more about, for me, the feeling. I wanted this feeling of this golden sky. I just felt like my friend was surrounded by kind of a golden kind of air. Um, so this today made me happy, not the blue strokes that I just did. It totally bugged me, and you'll see me kind of cover that up because for some reason it just wasn't working. When you're working with colors, um, you know, cooler colors will recede and warmer colors will move forward. Um, and but play around with mixing colors and seeing what the colors do. Um, if you mix, you know, this blue and orange together, eventually you will get brown. Um, but it won't necessarily turn brown all at once. It won't get muddy for a while, but even if it does, that's a fun experiment too. So I would just encourage you to play with moving different colors around, and if you get really hideous results, that's part of the process. And if you get wonderful results, then you can remember it for the next time. Um, I definitely don't like everything that I do in my art journals. And that is just fine. And I move on to the next one. Or sometimes if it's if it really bugs me, and I haven't done this in a while, I have covered up a few. So you've got total freedom. You're in charge of this. You can cover up whatever you feel like. Even if someone's like, no, it's great. If you don't like it, cover it up. Um, it's one of the great things about art journaling. You can't take something too far. Um, it's all dependent on what you want to do. Do you want to continue painting because painting is fun? Paint over it. No big deal. Um, yeah, play with your fingers. Play in the paint. It's super fun. And then you can peel it off. Do you guys remember playing with or like cleaning the dried glue off of glue bottles? Did you ever do that in elementary school? Um, it was like one of my favorite things ever. It was so satisfying. And I totally like peeling paint off my fingers, and it feels kind of like the same thing. There's so much about art journaling that brings you back to um, playing like when you were a kid, and it feels so good, and no one is looking over your shoulder to see if you're doing it right. Because you know what? You're doing it right. No matter what, you're doing it right. Showing up is doing it right. So I painted this on a little bit thicker than I normally do, so it's going to take a few minutes for it to dry, um, which is fine. I know some people will leave it and work in another book. Um, I can get pretty distracted with stuff, so I try to just stay working in one book at a time so that I don't feel as scattered. I kind of already feel scattered. So that doesn't really work for me, the two books thing. Maybe it will in the future, but I'm kind of staying away from it for now. Um, and a lot of people work, you know, like they would do this and then they would let it dry overnight and come back to it. I tend to want to finish a page in one sitting because whatever I am experiencing um, at the moment, it'll be different tomorrow. And usually I end up just covering up the whole thing if I have to, like, if I have to stop in the middle of a journal spread um, and start again, I'll just cover it up because my emotions are different. Where I'm at is different. The dreams that I had were different. And finishing a piece from the day before sometimes doesn't feel authentic. It feels like, oh, I'm just completing it so I can move on. Well, you've already kind of moved on. So, paint over it and start over. So anyway, so that's why I do quick pages. Um, and sorry, I lost one of the little word phrase, one of the words. So I'm using matte medium to stick the words on. So you can use matte medium like glue and then put it on the page and then put your word down and then go over the top of it with the matte medium. And it just kind of seals it in, which is great. Some of these words are from books, and some of the words I've actually printed out from like collage sheets that I've bought off Etsy, where you can get these random words. And so those have just been printed on my inkjet printer. I have a really cheap Epson printer, and so it's nothing fancy, and I haven't had much experience with it, with the ink running or anything. I've had pretty good luck with that. And the ones from books don't tend to, they're not runny. So really right now, I don't really know what I want to do with the owl, but I do know that I want it to keep kind of a hollow feeling. And for me, part of that is keeping the eyes eyeless. In the picture, the owl's eyes are dark. And I know at this point, I don't want to do that. I want to keep them kind of in this hollow feeling. That's definitely where I was coming from. After you use your paintbrush in matte medium, definitely soak it in water, because that matte medium will really, it'll just solidify, and it's really hard to clean it once the matte medium dries around it. So so be careful of that if you want to keep your brushes longer than a day. So this is just a small container of matte medium that I use so that I'm not constantly opening up the big jar of matte medium that I have. Okay, so I'm taking this is a navy blue Stabilo. You could just as easily use, let's see, an Inktense pencil or watercolor pencil or any kind of pencil, or you could use water-based crayon or oil or pastel. And I'm just going over the carbon lines so that you can see them more. And now I'll be able to activate this um, uh, with some matte medium or clear gel to kind of seal it into place so it doesn't move around if I go over it again. So I'm just going over the line. I really like the kind of gestural line work. I tend to like to scribble in my books so that it remains a looser kind of look. I can paint very realistic, but in my journals, I don't want that kind of rigidity. For me, part of art journaling is about accepting a sense of being out of control and being okay with it. I'm an only child, and I have definite control issues. So this helps me kind of be a little bit more loosey-goosey with it, more okay with unexpected results. And that's another reason why I love activating a pencil or charcoal or anything that you can kind of affect by a liquid. Will have some unforeseen, like unpredictable results. to a certain degree, and that is incredibly good for me. I really, I need that looseness and lack of control, and it kind of mimics that we really don't have much control in our life. There's so much out of control. I'm really digging the blue against this kind of a sunset orange that I have going on in the background. Um, it's for me, I love the contrast of it. Orange and blue are complementary colors, and so they're going to work off each other. If you wanted something maybe a little bit more, I was going to say peaceful, but maybe something that doesn't look like it has as much movement, you could use a red or a darker orange. Or if you did a blue sky and had the owl blue, it would be a calmer, it would be a whole nother feel. But I kind of wanted this weird owl drawing to look like he's coming from another place, like he's flying out of a painting. Because that's kind of what my dream felt like. I was kind of like, what is this person doing in my dream? She just kind of came out of nowhere and kind of just kept with me for a long time that day. I tend to have really vivid dreams that sometimes take a day or two to uh, move on to the next one. So I'm just moving the Stabilo around. Um, the the I want to say lead, but I don't think it is lead. But you know what I'm talking about, the the pencil part, not the wood part. So I'm just kind of playing with it. Again, it's not super realistic, but the proportions are there, and now I don't have to question my proportions because there's something about the face and where the tail is that feels a little off to me. But that was the picture. So I don't even have to. It's so freeing, isn't it? You don't even have to think, oh, I didn't get it right. Well, yeah, you did. Thank you, carbon paper. Thank you. It's such a great thing. Carbon paper, who would have thought? So fun and easy. And now it's almost like kind of coloring in a coloring book, but you can choose what you want to fill in and what you don't. Do you guys see Jeanne Oliver on a stick in the right-hand corner? She's with me the whole time. Isn't that nice of her? I love that. So I'm thinking at this point that I might almost be done, and I could have definitely stopped here. Um, it's definitely what I wanted to portray, is kind of this hollow feeling, but I thought, let's just play around. No big deal. So I'm using just some regular watercolors, mixing a few of them together. I don't really worry about other paint getting onto other parts. And you can use anything to dab watercolors. I didn't want the white to be so stark, except for kind of maybe right around the face, I'm thinking. And I'm using a makeup sponge to blot it, just because that's what was directly in front of me. It was kind of off to the side. So, but you can use paper towel or your fingers to smush it around. It's just kind of, I just wanted to fill it in just a wee bit so it wasn't so stark. And I'm not actually huge with watercolor. I tend to like more of the acrylic, thicker opaqueness. But for some reason, I just felt like playing with some watercolor. And part of art journaling is less thinking, more just kind of going with instinct. And the more you do that, the easier it is. I spent a long time just doing backgrounds because that was fun for me. And then it kind of evolved into something, and that's great too. I think going into your art journaling without an agenda, without proving anything, is really wonderful. And you know, you'll know where to go. You'll know what you want to do. But don't bully yourself into trying to do something that maybe you're not enjoying or you don't want to do right now. Maybe you just want to play with materials and do backgrounds, or maybe you want to only do faces or only write big words, or just journal on top of messy paint. That's fine too. There's so many options, and sometimes that makes it harder, doesn't it? Because there's so many options. And that's why doing classes is so fun, because you can have someone say, try this. And then it's less thinking, and just kind of going with it. It's so fun. So I could probably stop here. But again, I'm not going to. I felt like playing for a longer time, and that is totally fine. I wonder how many times I've said the word play during this class. I really feel strongly about it. I'm using Inktense pencils. Um, I think it's by a company, and a British company. Um, and I'm using them a lot in the class just because for me they're new, and so it's fun and it feels more exploratory, which I needed in this class when I was tending to I was overthinking everything, and I was like, are people going to like this, or what, all the self-doubt comes in, all those voices. And so playing with a new art supply can sometimes bring back that sense of play. So doing this, I'm not using the Inktense pencils like to encourage everyone to get them. You can use just about anything. But I would just say, play while you're at it. So I'm just moving right now. I'm activating the ink and kind of moving around so it has more of a little bit of a depth. Even though I still want the hollow feeling, but I also want there to be a little bit of contrast between the face and the rest of the body. So I'm just kind of moving it around, and it is kind of the blue Inktense is mixing with the yellow and orange of the watercolor, and that is fine too. So now I'm just going to fill in around some of the around the wings, just to kind of, just so it matches kind of what I did around the face, kind of ties it in together, which is nice. I don't need to outline every feather. I could, but this, I really just, I wanted to play. There is a theme here. But I think that if I had drawn this freehand without the carbon paper, I could totally do it. But I doubt that I would be at this phase of my painting or my art journal if I did. So the carbon paper really lets you get to that point where you can play faster. um, I I'm I'm all about, if you can have a little bit of instant gratification, go for it. And if you want to, work on your drawing skills, go for that too. And if you have a couple of hours to art journal, awesome. But not everyone does. And again, this is just, it's a tool that you can use. A lot of the old masters in painting, they didn't use carbon paper, but they used a special way of projecting an image onto a canvas. That kind of technology has been around for a long time. So please don't think of anything like this as like quote unquote cheating. One, who cares? And two, it's not. Old masters did it. It's all good. No big deal. All part of the process. And actually, so the carbon paper makes you get to the process faster, to the actual working of it. And if your painting or if your art journal page has kind of hits kind of an ugly stage, that's totally normal. Almost every page that I do, I start thinking, what am I doing? This is not working out okay. So I'm just playing with a little bit of white watercolor on top of some stuff just to make it, just to tone it down a little bit. I wanted it to be a little bit more, not quite as vibrant as it was. You could also do like a watered down white acrylic to do this as well. You just have to really get in there fast because it'll dry and then you can't move it around anymore. But this is a white watercolor paint. Is a great way to kind of uh, gives it kind of a chalky feel that is kind of nice, and it can take down any vibrancy. You just can't, if you work over it, it will blend with other things. That's the only thing. But I knew that I was kind of getting close to the end of working on this. So I've just grabbed my favorite pencil, which is just a 2B. Um, has a nice dark quality without it being too dark. And I just want it to be looser. So I'm going to scribble around on top of it, on top of the paint, on top of the owl. I just want some lines, so it doesn't look like, hmm, so it doesn't look like I'm maybe trying too hard. But then it also reminds me of when I was a kid and I would look in books that were mine when I was a toddler, and they'd have these random scribbles in there. And I still kind of like having those. I mean, I think every kid like draws in a book with random scribbles. It's nice to have those scribbles around, doesn't it? They're there for no reason, just for fun, for the motion of it, for the movement of it. It's nice. I like it. So I'm just doing a little bit of journaling about my friend who visited me and my dream last night, kind of getting out exactly where I was at. Again, it's kind of my way of processing having that kind of dream hangover. I think it's important to have your writing in your art journal as much as possible. I know a lot of people don't like their handwriting, and actually, I don't like my handwriting. But I've had so many compliments my on my handwriting from other people. They're like, "Oh, we love your script," and which I could not believe. Um, and it was very nice to hear. I actually really appreciated the comments. And so I would encourage you, put your writing in your journal. It is a part of you. And it really, I mean, it really is. People will look at it, or maybe they'll look at it later, or maybe you'll burn it and throw it away. I don't know, but, or throw it away. But, um, it's so, when I look at my mom's writing, it's so recognizable and it's so her. And there's kind of an instant comfort in it, because it almost never changes. My script has gotten a little bit looser and a little bit bigger, um, which maybe says something about about me. Not that I'm loose, but that I definitely feel freer in my life than I used to. Um, and I'm wanting to live a bigger life than I used to. Um, so I think that that's kind of represented in my drawing. So I'm just this is using a white gel pen, just doing some more random scribbling, um, and I kind of like the look of string. I wanted the bird to look like it was almost uh, connected by string. Um, String is represented in a lot of my work, um, partly because everyone in my family sewed, and so there was string and fabric everywhere. Um, and so I just, yeah, it's kind of part of what's knit me together, sewing and string and the sound of scissors cutting fabric, um, or cutting out a pattern piece is definitely part of my makeup. So, um, I use old um, pattern paper in as journaling pieces in my work a lot because I feel like it definitely says something about who I am. So adding some line work that looks like string feels very, very me. And there's also kind of that feeling of being trapped if something's tied up with string. And I felt like my friend in my dream was trapped there. Um, so, yeah. And I think sometimes, did I go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to have a bird trapped with string? No. It just kind of made sense as I did it. And as soon as I did it, it was like, oh, yeah, that part's done. That is really done. Um, this bottom left corner, on the other hand, is not done, and I need to fix it because it's totally bugging me. It's way too dark. So we're going to go in and we're going to fix it and lighten it up and make it so it matches the rest of the page because sometimes things, it just doesn't work, right? No big deal. That's the great thing about paint. You can just paint right over it. I would encourage you play with carbon paper. It really is a fun exercise and you can use it for so many things. You can do it for wording. You can do it with smaller images. You can do it with people. People are the best. If you have like an anthro catalog and you just get an outline of a person um, using the carbon paper, I mean, think of the possibilities. So fun. So go play with carbon paper and I would love to see what you do. I'm so excited to see where everyone takes this project. It's definitely one of my favorites. Thanks so much for joining me with this. I appreciate every single one of you.